Welcome back, Circle. Tomorrow afternoon, the ICO goes live, and it's going to be a cluster. Squad isn't a milsim, but by no means is it a casual shooter. Squad doesn't underestimate your intelligence. In a sense, it demands a certain degree of competency from the player. The ICO raises that degree by a fair margin. By introducing calculated impediments to the infantry experience, they've created a much better game. It does, however, make the game more challenging and unforgiving. This video is meant as a primer for those who are new to the ideas present within the Overhaul. Hopefully this will bring you up to speed. Suppression. Every time an enemy round passes nearby, it splashes the suppression effect. It will blur your screen and significantly reduce your effectiveness in combat. The suppression effect is not an on or an off effect, rather it's a sliding scale. It can be anywhere between very lightly suppressed, still combat effective, to just rode out an artillery strike in an outhouse. The way I understand it is every player has a suppression level or a bar that will fill up. It gradually clears itself over time, and every nearby enemy round raises that level a bit. Friendly fire does not trigger suppression. Explosives suppress harder and for longer, and will trigger the suppression effect even on friendlies. Larger caliber rifles like the G3 and the FNFAL and heavy machine guns deal more suppression than 5.56 and other smaller calibers. Additionally, if a round passes close by, it will cause your soldier to flinch in the opposite direction. It's minor, but it's enough to make you whiff, even in close quarters. In a quick draw scenario where two people both round a corner at the same time, whoever gets the first shot has a definite advantage. The way they've implemented suppression is one of my favorite features in the ICO. It works, it's viable, and it's fun as hell. You will be immersed, and you will like it. Run speed and movement. Players run slower, and sprinting distance feels reduced. You'll get used to it. Some people hate that change, but I think it was necessary. Being slow means defenders have more time to react to flanks instead of being swarmed immediately. It basically sets a better pace to firefights. Additionally, moving slow normally makes sprinting more useful comparatively. And because stamina is fundamental to how well you can shoot, it creates tension in the decision-making process for whether to be mobile or to shoot accurately. Because now you can't do both. Also, your player now has more inertia when moving. You can't switch directions easily. Feels like ice skating at first, but you'll adapt to it. Be aware when sprinting towards a door while dodging enemy fire that you can't whip turn into it at the last second. You'll need to align yourself with the threshold a little bit more on the approach. Rounds travel in the direction the barrel is pointed. This sounds small, but is a deceptively big change. It has ramifications on certain aspects of gameplay that you wouldn't normally think. You feel this most when point shooting, which is OWI's phrase for hip firing. It's still free aim, so that doesn't mean it's always going to point at the center of your screen. But with practice, you'll start to feel more confident anticipating where each round is going to go, because the rifle gives you visual feedback. This raises the skill ceiling, it doesn't cap it. It also allows, in a design sense, different properties for different weapons of different calibers when point firing. For example, the difference firing a bullpup in full auto close quarters versus a heavy machine gun full auto close quarters. It just feels good. It's like it's modeled in a physical and believable way. It definitely feels new and different. Counter to what a lot of people have said, there's nothing random about it. Random is the random pattern cone of fire. In post-ICO squad now, the bullet path is purely the result of where the rifle is pointing. By definition, it is less random. Sway and weapon handling. And this is the big one. A lot of players will find this to be the most jarring changes, not only in the context of squad, but for a first-person shooter in general. They've been wildly controversial throughout the playtests, but truth be told, a lot of players are being melodramatic about it. Full disclosure, I'm a dirty playtest one enjoyer, which probably makes me sound like a masochist to some, but to me, OWI has done a brilliant job making the entire experience feel reactive. Your ability to hold a rifle steady now is multifactorial. Your stamina, your stance, your current movement, whether you're under fire, all these feed into your ability to put the reticle where you want it. Stamina. Your stamina is broken into thirds. With the upper third, you can be perfectly accurate with minimal sway and your pip scope doesn't wobble on you. If you're looking to place an accurate shot, keep your stamina high. With full stamina, and if you're prone and holding your breath with the shift key, you'll be just as deadly as you were in Vanilla Squad. At the middle third of your stamina, you're going to be needing active mouse input to keep your reticle where you want it to counteract the sway. Firing at range, you're going to start to struggle putting accurate rounds down. In the middle range, though, it's still not too long to wait to let your rifle and your stability settle. At the bottom third of stamina, it's like shooting from the back of a mechanical bull. It's awesome. Just suppress and move. Don't sprint around corners. Run and gun is dead and the ICO killed it. Use your sprint when you're taking fire, when you're exposed, not to get you to an enemy 2 seconds faster. A lot of people seem to have a really hard time unlearning this. If you're going to sprint when on an aggressive flank, let off the gas a little bit earlier and shoulder the rifle sooner to let your soldiers settle. Stance and movement. If you have your eye pressed up against the eye relief of a scope and you try to go from standing to crouch, or worse, from crouch to prone, you're going to lose your sight picture. When shooting with most scopes, you're really looking to hold your pupil to within something like a 1 cubic centimeter of an area. When your pupil leaves that zone, you start to crop out the sight picture. Squad models this with some intentionality. If you're aiming down a 4x scope while walking, you're going to get some pushback. Same for when you're switching stances. I personally would like it to be much more punishing, but hey, it's still a video game. The trade-off is that when you do get to a lower stance, it does cut down on sway and recoil. But don't get in the habit of always insta-proning whenever you see an enemy at 20 meters. You're going to cost yourself the animation time plus re-establishing sight picture when you aim down sights, when you might have just been better off shouldering the rifle while standing and waiting a tick to get the bead. Ultimately, the effect this has is 4x scopes are no longer the only optic worth taking. In Vanilla Squad, there was literally no reason to pick anything other than the ACOG. Big scopes have a drawback now. They're slower and less effective up close. If you want to run in and start blasting fools, bring irons. You aim down sights much faster. Recoil. OWI has done something pretty clever here. Recoil isn't just a vertical kick on your reticle. There is also an unpredictable sideways kick. This makes it so that you can't just drag your mouse downwards to compensate. If your goal is to put down accurate fire, you'll need to let the reticle settle, process which direction it bounced, and then walk it back to the target. This has proven to be a pretty elegant design decision to increase the time between follow-up shots when you're trying to be accurate, and it feels good. It's in a really good spot. You can shoot fast, you can throw down bursts. Full auto still definitely has a purpose, but you can no longer place 3 rounds per second right between a target's eyes. Well, alright, that does it for the crash course. Good luck out there during the release tomorrow, and dap up that like button on your way out.